Good evening, everybody. This is William K. Murtaugh, Murtwitnessone, and this is the Monday, or excuse me, I got my days mixed up. This is the Friday Murtathon, July 20th, 2020. And one of the reasons I'm on the air tonight is I'm going to discuss something rather interesting. The Pentagon Pedophile Task Force has threatened me with a cease and desist order. Specifically, whoever is running the Twitter account that has been trolling me for quite some time now. And just so people can take a look at this Twitter account, I am going to post the link. Now, as of right now, I was caught on a little bit of a short notice because I was making some telephone inquiries as to my legal position due to this threat by Task Force 42666, which I find interesting, 666-8668. And bring this down here, and now I will put this in here. And so those of you who want to can go to Task Force, and you can see what this individual has been up to. Now, the way the software is on this live stream, I'm not able to bring in the account and scroll it like I normally do, so I'm going to be doing some, shall we say, multitasking here in order to try and get some of the okay, go to downloads again. Alright, what have I done? I think I added the wrong. We go add input, and we bring image. Okay, maybe now I hit the wrong cue. Yeah, here we go. Alright, now I can put this in. Well, what? Alright, I'm running into... Alright, Chad. Well, you came in at an interesting moment. You might want to take a look at the account that I put up there. Now, you may not, I don't know if you see, when you came in, you may not have seen it, so I'm going to post it again. But you might want to look at the exchange that's been going on with this particular Twitter account. And you may notice the picture I have in the background. Now, the Twitter account has hit me with a cease and desist threat. And the reason for that is I posted an opinion by someone that, disregard that, it's the wrong day. Okay, let me go up here and put this in there. Anyhow, to get back to things, this particular account, whoops, alright, I gotta bring this back up again. This particular account has made some rather interesting accusations against me. And these accusations have been reported by Mr. Timothy Charles Holmseth. Now, when I made a post having to do with an anonymous tip that was made against me, this sparked a threat that this task force was going to issue a cease and desist. And if I did not abide by their cease and desist, they were going to take me to court. Well, I told them they can take their cease and desist and shove it up their ass. And so far, looking at the Twitter account, which I'm now opening, let's see who the notifications from. Well, let's do it this way. For some reason, I'm having trouble finding the account. But anyway, this account, at last check, is still following me. And the account has 49 followers, and they are following 45 people, one of which is me. Now, this account made all kinds of interesting accusations. Well, Luke, that seems to be what these people want to do. They want to throw me in jail for attacking Timothy Charles Holmseth. Now, they're free to try. You know, Tim Holmseth has been attacking me for 10 years, off and on. In his latest rant, he came up with a blog over on Holy Smoke, which I suspect that he wrote. It's my opinion. He can prove otherwise, I'd be grateful. But he is declaring that I've already been to jail, that I have served time. Well, I live in Orange County, Florida. At the time these accusations were taking place, according to the Holy Smoke blog, or whatever you want to call it, I was living in the Orange County. I have been in the state of Florida since 1980. And I have been in and out of the state of Florida working while I was a resident in the state of New York since 1969. Let's see. I am just a miserable old man. Well, Luke, I'm curious. What are you doing here? You know, I've got 8 people watching this channel. You are one of them. What has your burr up your ass over this tiny, tiny, tiny little channel? I mean, Tim Holmseth has his Facebook page, he's got his task force page, he's got his Vimo or Vimo, however you pronounce it. He's got thousands of people. And yet here you are. So, Luke, sit back and enjoy the show. If you want to call up the Orange County Sheriff's Department here in Florida and press charges, knock yourself out. If you want to call the FBI, knock yourself out. I challenge you to. So, well, see, the problem, Dwayne, is Tim Holmseth, number one, he hasn't got a penny to his name. Number two, he's hiding where he lives, so serving a summons on Mr. Holmseth would be next to impossible. You know, he is in hiding for the specific reason he knows that I now have procured the necessary tools to do all kinds of legal actions against Mr. Holmseth. So, if he gets found and so on and so forth, and there's a worthwhile way for me to go about doing it, Mr. Holmseth is going to find himself in court. But at this point, I really doubt it. Mr. Holmseth is not worth suing. I have been to 3 or 4 different lawyers, and they have told me that, number one, I would have to put down between $5,000 and $10,000 if they even decided to take the case. Number two, I would have to get a lawyer in the state in which Mr. Holmseth resides, and all sorts of things. Now, on Social Security, this is something I cannot do. Now, I have been forced to start both a Patreon and GoFundMe in order to cover my legal expenses for this alleged cease and desist order that Mr. Holmseth, through this Twitter account, is threatening to place against me. Now, what started this little argument? Well, this is where we're at. Again, go over and look at this account. Now, in the account, someone had sent me a private message suggesting that perhaps the person or persons behind the Twitter account that is debating me and making all kinds of interesting statements is in fact a woman who goes by the handle Windchime. Now, the interesting thing about Windchime is she followed the I'm just reading something here. She followed the Caylee Anthony case, and for a brief time it was said that she was following the Haley Cummings case. Well, Windchime turns out to be an unregistered, confessed sex offender. She confessed to 4 acts of lascivious, having a tongue tie here, but anyway, she was charged with and confessed to 4 counts of lewd acts in the presence of children. She had sex with her then ex-husband, who happened to have been the biological father of these children, on a kitchen table in front of the children. It is alleged in the documents that she confessed to that she allowed herself to be photographed naked, up to and including her sex organs, in front of these children. And in fact, the photographer was one of the children. Now, she confessed to these crimes in exchange for testimony against her then husband. And the husband served a lengthy term in prison, and he in fact died in prison. Now, around that time, somebody found out that this woman was an unregistered sex offender. And she was also a moderator for a very famous true crime forum, Web Sleuths. And when this information came out, it turns out that the sister of this individual was one of my moderators on my live stream that I had going on back during the Caylee Anthony case. Well, the sister thought it would be a brilliant idea to go on my live stream and declare that these children, who were very, very young, lied. That they lied under pressure from their politically connected grandfather, and that both the husband and her were innocent. Anyway, they attacked my live stream. Both people who were out to get me off the air back then, and the sister of the unregistered sex offender. And so this has been an ongoing battle between me and the unregistered sex offender going on past 10 years or so. Now, the unregistered sex offender has been accused in the past of making up fake Twitter accounts and trolling me. So it's not a stretch to think that perhaps this task force Twitter account is in fact the unregistered sex offender. Now, prior to me disclosing this information, the unregistered sex offender alleged, or this Twitter account, was making some rather interesting accusations against me on the Twitter account. Now, again, if you go back and you look at the Twitter account, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to put up individual links, because this seems to be the shortest way to do this. And because rather than go through that, I was on rather short notice due to my phone call, so all the people I have, or all the slides that I have of this particular account are, it's going to, during this Murtathon, I'm going to go through and I'm going to download them. Let me go down through. Because strangely enough, this particular account has yet to block me. So let's see, we got 1, 2, 3. Now I'm expecting it to happen, but unfortunately for this individual, I have archived all of the messages. So she can close her account out, she can block me, she can do what she wants, but all the... this is interesting. Let me do it this way. Followers. There it is. For whatever reason, I'm having a problem finding what I'm looking for here. So let's see, we got... See, if I go about it this way... Okay, here we go. Now we're getting into it. Yes. This is more or less about 3 hours ago or so. But I have told the task force that I'm not going to abide by any cease and desist order, retaining order, or what have you. And this is the... I'm going to link to that post in here so you people can see what the situation is. But this is my... So there's that. And the problem that this individual does not seem to understand is they initiated contact with me. They are following me on Twitter. They, in military terms, they drew first blood. I'm trying to find something here. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me bring up. Alright, I'm doing a little... I have to set these as I go. I brought the slide into the room, and I have to... I don't know why this thing... Okay, now... Okay, now let's get this out of the... Let's see, let me take me out of here. Now, as you notice here, this is the task force Twitter account in question. Now, you will notice that task force is following me. I'm not following task force. If you look over to the right-hand side of your screen, you will notice that I am not following task force. Task force is following me. Now, it is 9:20 Eastern Time, and task force is still following me. Now, this is several hours past the threat that was made by the task force. So, this would mean that if this goes to court, I will show the judge that the task force has not taken down the follow of me. The task force has not blocked me from their account. So the task force is not threatening me with a lawsuit over fear. Now, another thing to notice about the task force account. Is there a name? Is there a name of a person they're identifying themselves? No, it says task force. There's no identification as to if the task force is a man, if task force is a woman, where the task force may reside. Nothing. All there is a name of something. It says task force. Now, Tim Holmseth has stated in his Facebook account that someone has accused me of serving jail time. He put up the link to a Holy Smoke account. So, in other words, Tim Holmseth claims to have found a link to a source accusing me of being convicted of a sex crime. So, how would this be different than if someone sent me a private message stating that they feel that task force is in fact Wing Chime, who is an unregistered sex offender from the state of Florida that has 4 confessed charges of lewd acts in the presence of a minor. I'm not saying that task force is, I'm saying that someone has made the accusation. See, this is where Tim Holmseth loses it, because I'm using the Holmseth defense here. You would never make it inside, Mr. Mert. What am I not making it inside of? Okay, now, see, here we go. There's somebody here under the Levi was trafficked as a child and said I'm paid. Now, how is this different than saying that someone is accusing task force of being a unregistered sex offender? See, there's no difference here. You know, Luke Short is using the same principles against me that task force wants to say that they're going to get a cease and desist order. So Luke's argument is hogwash. Luke is nothing more than a troll who comes in here. I don't think he knows what he's going to accomplish by that. I'm not intimidated. He can sit there and say anything he wants in here. But here's the thing. Is Luke Short a real name or not? See, this brings me back to a website we had, or a YouTube site, that was called Amy Dawson. Now, this is a YouTube site that came and went. It disappeared. Amy Dawson put up a lot of nice things about Timmy and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, Amy Dawson disappeared. That's because it is likely that Tim Holmseth published that YouTube channel using his information, and when YouTube found out, they told him to get lost or else. And so Amy Dawson disappeared. Now, this Luke Short is the same thing. It could be Timothy Holmseth under a fake name. Timothy Holmseth is known for that. In fact, it is likely and quite possible that Timothy Charles Holmseth or someone on his support team wrote that holy smoke complaint. Because you see, the complaint went up in November of 2018. Now, all you armchair detectives out there, you might want to go back and check what was going on with Tim Holmseth in November of 2018 and in the months prior to 2018. I think it might explain the contents of that particular entry and some of the things that were put in there. And it also might explain what Mr. Holmseth put on his Facebook page. Now, something that's rather interesting, Tim Holmseth has me blocked from his Facebook page. Now, this gives Tim Holmseth, so he thinks, the freedom to say anything he damn well pleases about me because he doesn't think I'm going to see it. Well, the only problem is there's several hundred people that monitor that page. And so anything that Tim Holmseth puts there, it gets back to me. You know, so Timmy cannot hide from me. He thinks he can, but he cannot. But at any rate, as a precaution, because of the legal threat put in there by this quote-unquote task force, I am forced to reestablish both my Patreon account and my GoFundMe account. Because if I have to fight this cease and desist order, I'm going to have to take and travel to wherever the court is where this paperwork is going to be filed in order to contest it. Now, this is going to be a terribly awkward thing to be doing in the middle of a pandemic. I'm not sure if the courts are going to be open in order for the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force or whoever to file this paperwork. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to, number one, file the paperwork that's necessary to fight this cease and desist action. Now, this is what's known in the trade there's a term for this sort of thing, and it's basically an effort to try and get me to shut up. Tim Holmseth has tried this in the past. He tried it in the state of Virginia and lost, and it cost me some money because I had to file some paperwork or pay the legal representation on that case to get that case finally thrown out, because it has to be filed in the state of Florida, and rather than come to the state of Florida, Tim Holmseth dropped the case. So you know, because of this, I have to ask for any help that anybody's willing to give on either one of these two services, or if necessary, I will put my mailing address up, and people can send me email to my mailing address. Now, we've got time, because until a process server shows up and serves me with the paperwork, nothing is going to go forward. But I am going to remind Task Force and Twitter and here on a daily basis starting Monday, because since this is the weekend, Task Force is not going to be able to file the cease and desist paperwork or any other complaint. The earliest they could do that is Monday, and then the process starts there. And there will be some lead time, so as I build up the funds, if I can, to fight this action, that's what I'm going to do. I have also, thank you, Rebecca. I have also sent a letter to the various defenders of free speech, and I'm going to ask them for their assistance, since this is a SLAPP action, which is a lawsuit against public and participation, so that I might be able to get help from them. Well, if no work is filed, then the task force has a problem, because now they have threatened legal action against me and they have not followed through. That dramatically weakens their position. They shouldn't have made the threat in the first place, because once you make a threat that you're going to file paperwork against somebody, there's no falling back from that. You would have to send a formal notice that for whatever reason you're not proceeding with that action. And even then, the threat of this in such a public manner opens you up to a certain amount of liability. So I would still, even if the task force does not file paperwork against me for the cease and desist or whatever other legal action that they have in mind, I could turn right around and file a lawsuit against the task force for making this threat to begin with. And then I would turn around and I would sue for injunctive release. I would file a subpoena with Twitter for the identity of the person that runs the account. And I would also file an injunction with Twitter that the account be archived, so that if the individual or entity that owns Task Force attempts to shut the account down and delete anything on it, Facebook would not allow them to do that. It would be archived because it would be evidence in a court action. So there is that, but that stuff all costs money. I'm going to have to pay a lawyer to do it, or I'm going to have to find out if I can do it myself, which is impossible. So I would hire a lawyer to file the proper paperwork with Twitter and get the information on who owns that account. I would do the same thing with YouTube. And I'm going to put a disclaimer here right now. Any comments on the chat are those of the individuals there. I am not responsible for any comments on the chat. So if you make a comment on chat, you alone are legally responsible for it. This is standard, third-party protection. You can't be sued because somebody puts something on your channel as long as you make it known. Well, Luke Shirt, this is the reason that I'm starting up the Patreon and GoFundMe accounts and other accounts, is I am going to ask for the help of the general public to fight this violation against my First Amendment rights. Tim Holmseth is arguing the exact same point. He's arguing that he is being threatened, that his First Amendment rights are being infringed. Well, I'm stating the exact same thing, and I'm going to use Tim Holmseth's tactics and adapt them to this action by his Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. So basically what you do is you're using the weapons of your enemy against them, and this is what's going to happen. So, one way or another, Tim Holmseth is eventually going to be accountable for his actions, and so is Task Force. Because you don't pick a fight with me and walk away from it. You either go through with it, or I'm going to come after you. Legally. Well, if people don't contribute to me, fine. But again, I have sent notice to the American Civil Liberties Union of the fact that my constitutional rights are in danger of being violated because an anonymous person is trying to get a cease and desist order against me. And there's no justification for it because there's no person to accuse. It's an anonymous site. So I'm not going to abide by any cease and desist order. So Task Force is going to have to come after me. And then when they do, I am going to fight back. Now, if I have to walk to the courthouse and wherever this is, I'll do it. If I have to hitchhike, I'll do it. But I will get up there and I will fight this because I've had enough. Tim Holmseth had his chance years ago to leave me alone. I told Tim Holmseth back then, I don't give a damn about your fight with Kim Picasio. But you brought me into this. I had nothing to do with anything, and all of a sudden, I find my name in the middle of all this. it's Tim Holmseth's fault that this is happening. I'm an innocent victim, like a lot of other people, of this idiot. Well, I know it's an impersonator, but this is evidence that Levi can use to sue whoever's behind that account. Because these people don't realize that YouTube has their information. Because they have to register in order to be on the chat. They just can't come in here and leave an entry. They have to register. And there's electronic information on these individual names that get put into YouTube once the message is raised. And even if you delete the message, that information is still there. So all these people are doing by impersonating Levi Page is they are providing evidence in a future action, either by Levi Page, Twitter, YouTube, or anybody else, because they are committing a crime. This is identity theft is what's going on here. So no, because I haven't seen the lawsuit against Levi Page. People have a habit of saying they're going to do all sorts of things, but I never get copies of the paperwork. So if there's going to be a lawsuit against Levi Page, send it along. I'll cover it. I cover legal cases. That's my thing. And I don't care who the legal case is against. So if there's going to be a lawsuit filed against Levi Page, send it my way. I told Task Force to do that. So go ahead and send me the paperwork. Well, fine. My address is out there. Send me the paperwork. I'll see you in court. Yeah, you can make all the threats you want. Hey, nonsense. Welcome to the chat. It's rather a weird one tonight, which is par for the course, I suppose. But, yeah, all these people that want to put me in jail, they want to file lawsuits, go ahead. Knock yourself out. I'm 69 years old. I have nothing to lose. So, you know, threat away. It's funny. You know, people come in here, there's like 18 people on here and make this big beef about nothing. I think it's hilarious. It's like that guy that sued the fake cow. Well, Nan, I have been hit with a threat on Twitter with a cease and desist. Because there is a unidentified anonymous entity on Twitter that a number of people in private messages have expressed their belief is a unregistered sex offender out of the state of Florida. And when I posted this information on Twitter, I was threatened with a cease and desist. And so now I've had to start up a Patreon and GoFundMe in the event that I have to fly up to wherever this place is. It could be anywhere in the United States and fight this cease and desist order, because this is a violation of my civil rights. It's a violation of my First Amendment. And it's also a violation of the Sixth Amendment, because I have a right to confront my accuser. And I can't confront someone that I don't know. And so the first thing I'm going to do when this cease and desist order is filed is I'm going to file a demand notice that I want to know the identity of my accuser. So, it is 99.9% certain that I'm not going to be in any lawsuit and I'm not going to have any cease and desist order. That's a foolish thing for them to do. But I dare them to try it. Because they have no idea who they're fooling around with. Well, I know that, Sharp. But they've opened a Pandora box. This is one of the reasons why I need backing on the funding sites, is to prepare myself for this kind of a situation. Because when you mess with crooks, you have to expect all sorts of things. And now a bunch of crooks are threatening legal action against me, so now I may have to be prepared to defend myself in court. Well, of course not Chad, but again, the threat was made. It was made in public, so I have to address it. Oh yeah, gotta have my Pepsi. Jacks me up great. You know, but kind of interesting. This Luke person is really interesting. All show and no blow, as they say. No cease and desist has been sent yet. The Twitter account that started following me 2 weeks ago got mad when I made a post stating that I had received a private message stating that they may be a confessed sex offender from the state of Florida, and thus they hit me with a threat of a cease and desist. Since this happened at 4:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time, it's going to be at least Monday before any cease and desist could be filed with any court in the country, if they can even get to the court to file it, because with the pandemic, there's a lot of courts that aren't doing anything right now, especially something as minor as that. The next thing is that a process server is going to have to serve the cease and desist on me. So that's going to take time. But once I get hit with that cease and desist, if they send one, the process begins. There's going to be paperwork filed with Twitter. There's going to be paperwork filed with YouTube. And there's going to be paperwork filed with a number of other places, including the Pentagon, for the identity of any and all persons having to do with the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and the 2 task force accounts. And by law, anyone that initiates a lawsuit against you has to identify themselves, or have a damn good reason why they can't. And if this task force refuses to identify themselves, then I'm going to have a motion filed to dismiss the case. And then I'm going to file for injunctive relief for expenses incurred because I had to fight this action. So one way or another, task force is going to lose. It's interesting because I have archived every single solitary post the task force made on Twitter, including some of the things that the task force said about me on Twitter. And there are a number of people that are going to be willing to sign notarized, sworn statements as to what they saw on the Twitter account. So when this goes to court, if it does, I'm going to say, Judge, this is what task force accused me of. Task force accused me of dressing up like a girl and going to public parks, and so on. So if the task force can make this kind of accusation, what's to stop me from saying that someone out there has an opinion about who this person might be? Because in the Twitter account, task force was getting into a lot of personal information, and this is the kind of personal information that the unregistered sex offender has about me and has constantly reminded me of over the years. So, what about my mustache? So, you know, but, you know, I find it interesting that, again, such a small YouTube channel has got this so-called powerful organization affiliated with the President of the United States is so upset about a YouTube channel with 19 viewers. It's really weird. Well, Luke shit, what does that have to do with anything? I mean, you sit there and you post nonsense that are meaningless, But, see, this is the thing, Luke. What you're saying there, that's why Task Force doesn't have a leg to stand on. Because I could say, okay, Luke Short is likely the person that's running Task Force. Because they're making the same kind of accusations. So there you are. When you make a statement on social media accusing somebody of something, that person has the legal right to recourse. And I am exercising my legal right to recourse to counter what Task Force is saying. And state that there are other people that are making speculations, guesses, opinions, or whatever you want to call it, as to who Task Force might be. Now, Task Force might be Wing Chime, who is an unregistered sex offender, or Task Force might very well be somebody else. But we don't know, because Task Force is hiding behind the shield of anonymity. Task Force will not identify themselves. And so, because Task Force won't identify themselves, we are free to speculate on who we think Task Force is. We are allowed to speculate. We are allowed to have opinions. So Task Force made a big mistake. Task Force threatened a cease and desist. Now, Task Force could have taken another path, but Task Force chose not to. So there it is in black and white. Task Force has stated that they are going to take me to court. They have stated that the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force stands ready to take you there if you be going beyond your legal notice of cease and desist. And I have told Task Force that they can take their cease and desist order and stick it up their fat ass. Because I will fight any legal action engaged against me by the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, Tim Holmseth, or anyone else. Period. I have nothing to lose at this point. Well, nonsense. The whole thing is nonsensical. But the thing of it is once Task Force posted that, they walked into a trap. Because they have no axe to grind. Because if they take me to court over the post about the unregistered sex offender, I can turn right around and bring in the post that they put up accusing me of dressing up like a girl and going to a public park. And the judge will say, he's defending himself. Case dismissed. End of story. If you're going to get yourself in a position where you're going to take a court action, you better think about what's going to happen if you lose. And this is what apparently the task force is not doing. Perhaps their legal consultant can talk a little sense into them, but I highly doubt it. And I have my reasons for that. Well, the thing of it is, Sharp of the Tack, I don't think these people are directly affiliated with Q. I think they copy Q's material to their own advantage. Because there's plenty of Q that have contacted me in private and says they have no idea who these people are. and that they're misinterpreting a lot of what they say. I've had people in my comment section say it. I've had people contact me on my various social media accounts and say that people are getting things all wrong about Q. Now, personally, I don't know who Q is, and I don't care. I'm not here to fight Q. I am here to fight the liars that have embraced this Pentagon pedophile task force nonsense, and they're running around ruining people's lives for no good reason. Now, the Pentagon pedophile task force is a fraud, pure and simple. It doesn't exist. Now, I tried to get task force to explain to me what the task force is, and they wouldn't do it. And I explained to task force that when you are operating something, quasi-official or an organization of some kind, and you're paying out salaries and you're taking in money through donations, which they're doing, you have to file paperwork with the United States government. You're either, under the 501c program, you're either a non-profit or a non-for-profit, or you're an organization like the Elks, where you're an organization affiliation, or whatever the hell they call it. On the other hand, if they are not these two entities, then they have to file as a corporation, a proprietorship, or an LLC. But the paperwork has to be filed. There's tax papers that have to be filed with the Internal Revenue Service. Now, in the Twitter postings, the task force declared that Tim Holmseth is being paid by the Pptf. Well, if Timothy Holmseth is being paid by the Pptf, he has to file with the Internal Revenue Service. He has to have Social Security taxes taken out. He has to have welfare taken out. Medicare has to be taken out. And the employer has to contribute. I don't know if I don't know what. Oh, I see. Never mind. I thought something happened. Anyway, but there is paperwork you have to file with the federal government, and in some cases with state governments. You just can't go around saying you're the Pptf, collect money, and pay salaries, and not disclose what you are. There's paperwork that has to be filed with the government. And depending on what kind of organization you are subject to public information. If you are a corporation, articles of incorporation have to be filed. If you're a 501c3 or 4 or what have you, you have to file that, and that is also public information. It's the public's right to know. You are dealing with people's money. And so people want to know where the money is going. And that's what needs to be done here. Somebody needs to be held accountable for all the funds that are going into the Pptf. Now, task force claims that as part of his salary, Timothy Holmseth was given a car. Now, the car is registered in Tim Holmseth's name. That's a matter of public record. We already know that. We know the license number, make, model of the vehicle, whole 9 yards. It's a $12,000 car. That's income. Because that's not a gift. That's part of his job as a spokesman for the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. So he has to declare that car on his income tax. And since it is a one-time shot, he has to pay capital gains tax on it. Now, I'm a car dealer. I know how this stuff works. I've had to file the paperwork. When somebody marches into my showroom and puts down $12,000 on a car, cash money, I have to report that. That's the IRS requires that. And so did the dealer where that car came from. Now, task force has also declared that Tim Holmseth rent is being paid buy a property controlled by a licensed real estate property manager. That's income. That has to be reported. There's the thing that the task force hasn't thought out on all these declarations. There is all these things are legally binding in one way or another towards some part of the United States government, be it the Internal Revenue Service, the Department of Commerce, Department of Justice, all of this stuff all has to be on record. And this is public information in a lot of these cases. And this stuff can be found out. So, the task force is just creating problems unnecessarily for Tim Holmseth. They never should have followed me in the first place. I didn't ask for them to. I didn't seek them out. I didn't know the account existed until I was notified by Twitter that they were following me. Just on this, all of a sudden, I get notification from Twitter. You are being followed by task force. And I go, who the fuck is this? So I looked and sure enough, here they are. Well, trafficked, I don't know what your problem is, because Donald Trump says that particular medication is the cure-all for everything. So all that person is another troll. We used to have them back in the old days. I mean, 4chan used to come in with their nonsense. So this is nothing new. I mean, that's these two are nothing more than, they probably got drunk or they can't get a date or something, and they just decided to come over on my channel and, do this. There's 15 people in here, and these two come in here because they're not welcome anywhere else. So. Oh, Tim Holmseth is exposing himself. Well, that makes sense. He exposed himself a long time ago. I think all this stuff he's doing is to cover up his own problems. But, you got to, you've got to, when figuring out what's going on here, you've got to put together some facts. And the facts are that if someone is going to go around targeting a small YouTube channel with 10 or 15 viewers on it, instead of attacking websites with thousands of people on it, there's a problem. So it's well, whoever Dwayne was, I don't know who the person is behind the task force account. I have no idea. They won't identify themselves. And so until that time, it could be any number of people from my past that is part of this task force. So, well, she did. But the thing of it is she won't identify herself on this Twitter account. She's identified herself as other parts of the task force, but I can't declare that this account is Randy. Can't do it, because Randy hasn't identified herself. And so the only thing I can say is that someone on the internet has voiced their opinion that this account is an unregistered sex offender from the state of Florida. It's that simple. If you want to end the speculation, you have to identify yourself. And you have to identify yourself in such a way that people know who you are. So, well, if task force is Lori, then whoever this Lori is going to have to prove it. But until such time as we can speculate as to who's doing this, it could be anybody. Could be radio. Radio might be back. It's not a lot of, that'd be, radio would be another, JFK Jr. if she were to pop up on here. That'd be one of these divine miracles. Because radio suffers the same status as JFK Jr. So if radio shows up on here, that it would be rather interesting. Because I verified the information that was sent to me about radio months ago. Or even longer than a month ago. There. Margaritaville is a guy from Canada who claims to have been the one behind the Children's Crusade, and that Field McConnell took it over. Now, Margaritaville is not too happy with Tim Holmseth, and so those two are battling it out with each other. I don't know if he does or not, Kennedy. I don't know if Tim Holmseth is filing paperwork or not. I highly doubt it. These sovereign citizens have a thing against the IRS, so they don't do anything. Yes, Timothy Holmseth is named as one of the defendants in that Ohio lawsuit. Now, I don't know where the lawsuit is going or not going. The coronavirus has put a stop on a lot of stuff. And one of the reasons I want to get going on the financial situation is if a lawsuit is filed in the state of Ohio against these defendants, I want to go up there and cover it live. There's about 6, 7 different lawsuits that I want to cover live. And I may wind up covering my own lawsuit before this is all said and done. That'd be an interesting experience. I would be covering the defendant in a lawsuit, and that defendant would be me. That'd be rich. That's, legally I probably wouldn't be able to, but it'd be an interesting concept. That's a good possibility, DJ, that she is part of it. It would be a logical assumption, but then again, until they start naming names in these lawsuits, we're not going to know for sure. Yeah, that Postmaster General thing is the absolute stupidest thing that people could be believing in. I mean, give me a freaking break. And this is all over gold fringe flags. Now, anybody that's been in the military knows the significance of those flags. So I just, but the thing about it is the followers of these people are so stupid and so gullible, they'll believe anything. And it's a riot. They want to believe that a dead liberal by the name of JFK Jr., who was mangled in an airplane crash, somehow survived the crash and is this trampy-looking guy living out west, and he's going to be installed as the vice presidential candidate under Trump. And these same people believe that there are lizard people. They believe there are fish people. They use as a basis for their theories a movie. I think it was called Link or something like that. All this. It's amazing. And another thing that these people believe in, and I think this even threw Breitbart for a loop, the guy that runs that weird radio, TV, internet thingamajiggy. In the middle of the broadcast, this guy comes on, and he says that there is a child sex colony on Mars. And this lunacy got so widespread that NASA actually had to come out and deny it. That's how bad this stuff gets. You know, Pizzagate's the same way. They sit there and say there's something going on in the basement of this pizza parlor, when in fact there is no basement. And then some Looney Tunes goes out with an assault weapon and decides he's going to shoot up the place, and he got caught before he got in there, luckily. But this kind of idiots follow this stuff. Well, you know, something funny, you know, who has been seen a lot in pictures with Mr. Epstein, and that is Donald J. Trump. There's picture floating around, and it has Donald Trump in at least a dozen shots with this individual. Trump has known him for years. Now, also, don't forget that Donald Trump has somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 women that has filed complaints against him for rape, and at least 2 of these people are children, or were children at the time these incidents took place. But nobody cares about that because Trump is a Republican. You know, this is where you break down who's innocent or who's guilty according to their party affiliation. You know, I love science fiction. I watch Star Trek, I watch DS9, I watch all kinds of stuff. I'm watching a science fiction series now called Dark on Netflix, and it's fascinating show, but you know, there's nothing wrong with liking science fiction as long as you understand that it is fiction. The stuff is not real. You know, and when you see people take fiction, science fiction, works of art, and say this is proof of satanic ritual abuse and all this other nonsense, it's just, you look stupid. And you are stupid. You know, and this is the problem here. And again, you know, these people don't seem to understand something. I don't care. I don't care about Q. I don't care about Breitbart. I don't care about Steele or any of these other people. What I care about is some unemployed pizza delivery driver running around in a car full of junk accusing me of criminal actions that I'm not guilty of. That's all it is. If he hadn't got on my radar, if he hadn't attacked me, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be going down to the cave doing rocket launches. I'd be doing Project Mesa, which I've had to put on the back burner because of this crap. I keep getting it delayed. I've got a video presentation all set to go that I gotta put through pre-production and get it up on the air, but I can't do it because I'm having to deal with this crap. You know, Tim Holmseth will not go away. And this task force person will not go away. They just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And so that's what they, you know, war is what they want, war is what they're going to get. Because I'm a stubborn Irishman. I will not put up with it. You know, and this is what this traffic person and this Luke person needs to understand. You know, you can come in here and troll all you want, but you're just making yourself look stupid. You know, when you stop and realize the small size of this channel, it's a nothing channel, I'll admit it. 15 people. 17 now. That's it. You know, they're trolling, a channel with 15 people in it. It's laughable. And these people are clowns. They are absolutely silly. So, you know, they're just making themselves look stupid. He's not so much a defeat as foe is basically a nothing. My days, I'm going to hit the right. Yeah, go with that. I don't think Tim Holmseth has ever been on the wagon because some of the stuff he comes up with, this thing he came up with over on Facebook, you know, apparently he doesn't understand what holy smoke is. And neither does task force, because they don't realize that the same thing that was posted about me on holy smoke can be posted about them. Someone can go over on holy smoke and put the exact same thing and accuse each of these entities of the same thing. They could accuse task force, and then they could accuse Tim Holmseth of all kinds of things. And there's not a damn thing that they could do about it. Holy smoke does not take down their content. Holy smoke will not give out information on who it is that's in their website. They won't fight. So and there are several of these sites. Now, it is my opinion that either Tim Holmseth or one of his followers wrote the article in the Holy Smoke webpage. That was one of the things that I was going to discuss when this cease and desist threat came up. So I'll be doing that at a later time. Well, Golden Mare, you see, the problem with that, if they do not follow through on their threat, then I can expose them, because I'm starting a countdown as of today. It's going to be day 1 of the threat of the cease and desist. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and so forth. I'm not letting go. Because every day that they do not file the cease and desist, I'm going to remind them. So this is going to have to be resolved somehow by them. They're either going to have to file the paperwork, or they're going to have to retract it. They're going to have to say, for whatever reason, they are not filing a cease and desist. And the minute they do that, they've lost. If they file the cease and desist, they lost. GS, I don't know if you're on my Twitter or not, but this account called Task Force over on Twitter, who's been following me now for a week or two, kept going back and forth with me, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the conversation, I got a private message suggesting that Task Force might be a woman from the state of Florida who has confessed to 4 counts of lewd acts on children and is an unregistered sex offender. About 15 minutes after that, I was threatened with a cease and desist order. Now, the Task Force Twitter header is up here. Nowhere on that task force is there an identification for who runs that site. That person or individual group is anonymous. So because of that, they are open to having themselves investigated, and people have the right to speculate as to who they are. They refuse to identify themselves, and because of that, they can be hit with the speculation. Now, they have stated that they are going to file a cease and desist against me. They put up a public notice that I am to cease and desist with speculating that task force is a unregistered sex offender, and that's basically it. I have been threatened with a court action, and because of that, I have had to re-engage my Patreon and my GoFundMe, and I have to actively seek funds that I may have to use to fight this cease and desist. Now, I don't know if you remember Lisa, but this is the same stunt Lisa pulled, and so we're going down the same road again. But as of 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the task force has not blocked me from their Twitter account. Task force is still following me. So every minute that goes by that they don't take some kind of proactive action, they're weakening their case. No, Dwayne, I do not. I don't believe in conspiracy theories. Someone would have to prove to me that's the case. But, COVID is a legitimate pandemic. Very simple precautions could be taken to, well, task force just came up again. Task force is saying that they don't have a son, and I guess they're arguing with someone by the Tyler the Fox and Music QAnon. So I guess I've been put on the back burner for now. But I am not blocked by task force as of now. Task force has not put up a retraction. And then, as I said earlier, it will be probably Monday at the earliest before they can file any paperwork with whatever court they want to decide. I'm going to be curious as to what they're going to use as basis for it. And then I have to be served before any cease and desist order takes effect. And the minute I get hit with one, I'm on an airplane to wherever that court is. Why? Why, Martha? Because, the thing of it is they put themselves in this situation. They followed me. I didn't seek these people out. I didn't know this account existed until I got a notice from Twitter that the task force was following me. That's number one. Number two, task force chose to engage me, not the other way around. I didn't ask for any input from task force. But task force is on there. They want me to get a job at Walmart. They want me to get off the air. They have stated that I am losing viewers on this channel and that I am basically going to not be in existence because everybody's leaving the channel. Apparently everybody here is tired of me talking about the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and Timothy Charles Holmseth. So what I don't understand, if this is the case, then what is the problem with task force? I'm not going to be around. So why bother with this cease and desist order? And the problem that task force has is they have to approve or prove who they are. It's that simple. Well, Janice, I don't care if people agree with me or not. We all have a right to our opinions about anything. 90% of the people in this room and in the subscription base that I have are politically opposite from me. We all disagree with just about everything outside of the fact that the Pptf is a fraud, that Timothy Charles Holmseth is a fraud, that Phil McConnell is a fraud, and that a bunch of these other people are frauds. These people are liars. They're stealing from the public. Period. I don't care about Trump. I don't care about Q. I don't care about anything else. This channel was originally not supposed to be political in the first place. And it certainly wasn't supposed to be about Timothy Holmseth. I didn't want anything to do with him. I've had to put all kinds of projects on hold because of this idiot. Now, yes, I'm going to cover some trials. And in order to cover the trials, I've got to have the funds to do it because half of them are out of state. The only trial that's going to be in the state of Florida is Florida versus Field McConnell. And that is indefinitely delayed because of the coronavirus. Field McConnell is under house arrest in a luxurious house in the state of Florida. So he got lucky. Because right now, he's not sitting in a county jail awaiting trial. He's at his son's house. And he's there because he got involved with Timothy Charles Holmseth. It's his own damn fault. Before Timothy Charles Holmseth came along, Phil McConnell never heard of Kim Bocasio. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, came the Pptf. Phil McConnell has disavowed it. He says the Pptf does not exist. Phil McConnell, the big hero everybody talks about, has disavowed the Pptf. And what's funny is that Timothy Charles Holmseth is no longer a part of the Children's Crusade. He publicly stated that he is leaving the Children's Crusade. Nobody talks about the Children's Crusade anymore. That kind of went poof. I think Dr. Good Vibe, or whatever the hell he calls himself, talks about it. But that's it. Well, I'm a little confused about the sun. But, I've heard a lot of different things being said about the sun. The sun is either believes or doesn't believe Phil McConnell's theories. But that's not the point. The point is that Phil McConnell advocated violence against an innocent woman. Phil McConnell went on the air and had a photograph of Mrs. Bocasio decapitated. He wanted her sent to Gitmo and executed. This is the kind of weirdness that's going on here. The funny thing is when you stop and think about what these people espouse and what they believe in, it's really stupid. Now, Tim Holmseth believes that Vice President Pence is out to get Donald Trump. He wants to have a coup or something and take over as president of the United States. Pence could have done that. In the impeachment of Donald Trump, Pence could have gone out of his way to get him impeached, and he would have been president. That's where the theory falls apart, because there's any number of ways that Pence could have come in as taking over for Donald Trump as president of the United States. But he didn't do it, because Pence is loyal to Donald Trump. End of story. Now, I don't support Donald Trump. And half the United States. Right now, we're about evenly divided. Now, the polls say that, Biden is in by a landslide, but we've seen what happens to polls before. The only poll that is going to count in this country is on November 3rd. Donald Trump is either going to win or he's going to lose his bid for a second term. It's that simple. Now, we can all sit here and argue back and forth about this, that, and the other thing, but in the end, the only way anything's going to matter is those of us who take the time to vote. And a lot of people in this country don't vote. They may be for either candidate. There's people out there for Biden. There's people out there for Trump. There's people out there for all kinds of different people. But when the rubber hits the road, a lot of them are not going to vote. It happens every time. Every single time. During the main election, during the off-year election, there's people that are going to sit there and fight tooth and nail for their candidate, and then they're not going to bother to vote. It's weird, but that's the way it is. So, you know, it's like watching a football game. Somebody gets tackled, somebody gets a touchdown, somebody throws a field goal. You know, all this different things. Until the buzzer rings and the last play is made, we don't know the outcome. So we're all taking bets on the outcome. So we'll see what happens when we get there. But I'm not here to argue about politics. I was going to do it, but then I changed my mind and said, screw it. I'm not getting in the middle of that mess. It's either, you know, for the time being, I'm forced to talk about Timothy Holmseth because of this nonsensical threat that's being made by Task Force. You know, Task Force is still over there making declarations, but we don't know if what Task Force is saying is true or not, because Task Force is unidentified. Task Force is anonymous. And because of that, we have no idea who Task Force is or is not. So Task Force can sit there and make all these declarations, but there's nothing to back it up. Now, radio used to do the same thing. Radio of radionews.net, who a lot of you probably have never heard of, I've talked about this individual before, claimed to be an electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer, and she was a contract employee for AT&T out of Atlanta. Now, unfortunately for radio, I have the ability to check this information out. And I talk to people I know with AT&T and with the department for which radio would have to have worked if what she said was true. And I was told flat out, they do not hire outside consulting engineers that work with other telecoms for competitive reasons. The telecom industry was and still is an extremely competitive business. And they will not hire people that jump from one carrier to another. And for one simple reason, it's called industrial espionage and trade secrets. They don't want to risk somebody taking a trade secret from their company that they developed and go over to another company and say, hey, I was with AT&T and did all this work. I can give you some inside information if you hire me. So they're not going to do that. But it turned out it was all a lie. Radio turned out to be a laid-off telephone operator. She was caught up in the reorganization of AT&T back when AT&T automated their entire system. They did away with directory assistance operators. They did away with collect call operators. Anymore, if you call AT&T or AT&T Wireless, you get a machine. You get an AI voice thing where you go through and you tell them what you want to do, and they do it. There's very few people involved. It's extremely difficult to get to talk to somebody on AT&T unless they're trying to sell you a telephone or a wireless contract or a smartphone or internet or what have you. So radio got caught up in all that. And she was a bitter, sick old woman who smoked cigarettes, had asthma, had all kinds of problems. And she went around playing games with everybody. She went after Tim Holmseth, she went after me, and in the end she went after those who considered her their friend. And once she was discovered and outed, she went away. And this person is acting just like radio. So, but we have no idea who this person is. But it's the same thing. It's just same shit, different day. Somebody else has taken over that kind of nonsense. So, but, you know, Nan has known me for 2006. She knows what I've been through. And she knows the kind of crap that went on the internet. She got targeted herself at one time. Another one? Okay, I've just been informed that there's another high command on Twitter. As if one of these things aren't enough, they have to go out and create another one. This is weird. So we now have a second high command on Twitter. This one, they're following. Let's see who they're following. They're not following me because I didn't get notification. Okay, following. Same. And they're following. Task Force is following. All right, I don't know if I'm on the air or not. We had an interruption in service here, so I'm waiting to see if the la 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 la. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to go get myself another Pepsi, and yeah, somebody can come in and let me know if I'm on the air or not. It might be a big help. Okay, I'm not sure what the situation is here. I lost the wheel of death. I'm going to see if possibly I got one little test I can make here. See if we're back in business or not. And I think I'm starting to get a monitor again on here. Well, my number just went up by one, so I guess I'm back. Excuse me. I guess I'm back. Where the hell's my cursor? So, Anyway, it looks like we lost our trolls. Okay. Alright, maybe that'll solve part of the problem. So anyway, while I'm in kind of a rest period here, let's see, I'm going to do another input. Hit me with MP4 again. I don't want MP4. I want image. There we go. Browse. Alright, well, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go over, because I'm going to have, if the rest of this goes through, I'm going to have these slides set up. And if they don't, then when I do my next Murtathon, I'll just be a little bit better organized and I'll have this thing set up. Because I'm going to go back and do what I originally had planned. Yeah. But, you know, it's funny that Tim has this duplicate command channel. I guess by the time we're done, we're going to have a dozen of these things. Why he finds it necessary to have all these different YouTube channels is something that I don't understand, since he's already... Okay. Let's see. So now I'm able to do this. So let's see, we add input. It's going to be an image. Okay, now what's going to be coming up is the order that was sent to me via Twitter, stating that I was going to be hit with this cease and desist. And it says, this is your statement. This is your final legal warning to cease and desist this type of accusation. If you continue, legal ramification can and will exist. You see, we stand behind our words of warning. Now, what's interesting here is that who is our? Are they saying that this is the official channel of the task force? If this is the case, who is the second task force? You see, they keep making their situation that much worse. Not only have they got this task force up, but they've got another one. And I'm going to link it just so you people can read it. Oops. All right, I got to do this. But you see, this is the thing. These people don't have a clue, you know, and that's why they're paper tigers, because they're saying that, oh, we're this big organization. We're going to send you to court. We're going to take away everything you own, and they make their situation that much worse. And they did it again, you know, because they put up another high command. And the thing of it is they used the logo of the Joint Special Operations Command. Now, see, this is something here that whoever set this new account up doesn't understand. by putting up the High Command 2 and using the Joint Special Operations Command logo, they have now directly affiliated themselves with the United States military and the United States government by extension. So if you're going to go around and saying that you're a member of the United States, the Joint Command, then you get into all the arguments that the other high command made just went out the window, because you are now subject to public inquiries about how this thing works. You just can't set something up and say, oh, we're secret, we're exempt, and all that. This is not a dictatorship. This is an open democracy. We have laws. We have freedom of information. So whoever is behind this thing now has a new accountability requirement. And, there can and will be public information requests made regarding this entity. People are going to want to know who the hell these people are. And one of these days, you are going to have to explain, not to me and not to my followers, but to the United States government, just who the hell you people are. It's that simple. You just can't put these things up and say you're part of the government. You have to prove it. And the more you keep putting these things up, the more trouble you're going to get yourself into. So here we have it. We got the task force and we got the high command. It's amazing that these people have the nerve to do this. They've gotten away with this stuff so far, but this can only last so long. Eventually, they're going to get caught. The government is going to say enough is enough. And, I guess one thing you do, is you start reporting these people to say Twitter and say, hey, you've got these people going around pretending to be affiliated with the military and collecting money and making all kinds of statements. When are you people going to crack down on this? So, that's gonna be something we're gonna have to wait and see. But this is what goes on here, is this kind of fraud. So now we have two of these, and the high command and task force are following each other. So, and it's rather interesting that these things, I don't know why they bothered to create a second channel. So, oh, brother. Yeah, this thing with Wayfair is comical. Absolutely comical. It's already been debunked. I don't know, what I don't understand is, what do Wayfair do to piss off these conspiracy nuts? I don't get it. I mean, all they do is sell overpriced shit. But, again, the conspiracy nuts have to have something to do. And so they come up with this nonsense. La 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 la. It's really strange. For some reason I lost the... This account is weird. like stuff gets wiped out. You know, the timeline gets all screwed up on these things. But, you know, I'm going to probably at 11 o'clock Eastern, I'm going to shut it down because there's no activity on here. But I'm just trying to get a few things wrapped up here so that they're at least recorded on the channel. And then I'll go in a couple hours and edit. But I don't delete things. I leave everything raw. So that timeline is really weird. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to have this ready to go a little bit better organized because I've got to get into, getting back on topic. And we're going to see how it happens because we're going to get into, I may cut the Murtathons back a little bit time-wise and just get into what's going on a day-by-day basis, but make the Murtathons relatively short because I do have other things that I need to get to. Even though I'm on Social Security, I'm on a rather heavy schedule. I'm going to have a schedule tomorrow that I have to adhere to. And so on and so forth. But, you know, it doesn't matter where the cease and desist comes from. There's a procedure you go through. And if they don't go the procedure, the cease and desist isn't worth the paper it's written on. So, that. Yeah, but these threats that they keep giving out, they amount to nothing. But I'm going to ask people to like and subscribe. I'm going to ask people to, if they feel so inclined, to put $1, $2, $3, whatever, in my Patreon and in my GoFundMe so I can fight this legal battle that has now been thrust upon me. And also so I can do these remote broadcasts. And if I can finally get up to over 1,000 subscribers, there's a lot more than I'm going to be able to do on my channel. You know, YouTube did a strange thing. They decided that you needed 1,000 people in order to live stream mobile. And because of that, I'm stuck. So if I can get people to come over and get on my Patreon, get on my let's see, what are we doing here? You know, if we can get people to come over and get on my Patreon and GoFundMe and help me out a little bit, I'm going to be able to fight this infringement on my constitutional rights. If I hear something back from the American Civil Liberties Union, I will post. Because they may or may not get involved in this. It's hard to say. But I've also got feelers out there to various organizations that are into freedom of speech to help me fight against this travesty that has been threatened by this task force that burst upon my Twitter unasked, unwanted. I did not know they existed. They just showed up out of nowhere and decided to attack me. And then when I fought back, based on an anonymous tip, I get threatened with a legal action. So, you know, when you declare war on me, I declare war on you. It's that simple. So now we have it. And so now we're going to see where we go. Now, as for the future non-Pptf related, non-Tim Holmseth related, I do have the Mesa project in the works. Now, it's been put on hold for a couple of reasons. And once I get back on track and start getting some editing on, people are going to understand exactly what the Mesa project is. And this is something else that I would like to get some funding, because it does involve a little bit of expense. It's not necessary for this particular project, but like everything else, I'd appreciate it, because it costs money to do these things, because I have to pay for internet access, and there's other things. So every little bit helps. And Project Mesa is going to have to do with my live streaming. And I will be explaining that as time goes on as to how the Mesa project is going to coincide with my live streaming. So I guess, time will reveal just exactly what's going on with these various projects. So, let's see, one last time here. Probably should have left my Twitter account open, seeing if anything new has come up. And it looks like right now everything seems to have settled down. Maybe task force passed out or something, or who knows what's going on in that fantasy world over there. And this Task Force 2 is probably taking their attention now. We'll probably see the end of Task Force 1. Never know. Because now we got something different to play with. Let's see, one. I don't know how the hell they got on my channel. Very limited list here. Curious. Who? Okay. The funny thing, who is not following either one of these accounts are the First Family. They are not following them. Now you would think if they were associated with President Trump that they would be followed, but they're not. Well, it's just QAnon's amazing. But really, it doesn't seem to be that, I just lost in thought here because I'm not understanding the reason for all these new channels. But, people want to do this stuff. I'm gonna do one last check on something, and I am out of here. But I do appreciate what few people tuned in tonight. I wish I was better at this than I am, but things Ah, that's interesting. Well, see, this is a funny thing. Now, Task Force here is getting a burr up their ass because I questioned who they are and said that there is somebody that has the opinion that they are an unregistered sex offender. Over on Facebook, Levi Page is calling me a pervert. And let's see what he has done here. Now, Tim Holmseth, this is breaking news. This went up about an hour ago, apparently. Tim Holmseth says I contacted him and asked for sexual information about his 2 minor children. You know, this is something that Tim Holmseth has claimed for years. And he has never produced the letter. And, you know, this is... Now, he says that Murtaugh's deeply troubled little friend did the same thing. And he put up a phone call. Now, you see, this is where the task force is going to run into a problem. Because if they take me to court, I'm going to bring this article that Tim Holmseth just put up into court and say, well, what about this? You know, you're here whining that... Hold on a minute. You know, you're whining about someone calling in or sending me a private message about your account being possibly, this is an opinion now, that you are maybe, kind of, sort of, a unregistered sex offender from Florida. And then you hit me with a cease and desist. And here we have Timothy Holmseth again putting up the exact same stuff that he's been putting up for 4 years. Nothing new. Same stuff. And you're going to gripe because you're an anonymous account and we're trying to figure out who you are? Bit of a hypocrite there, aren't you? Now, the account hasn't said a word to me in hours. The account has not blocked me on Twitter. The account has not unfollowed me on Twitter. Now, Tim Holmseth has me blocked on his Facebook page. You know, this one video doesn't make any sense. But, you know, but this is what Tim Holmseth... Tim Holmseth is terrified of me. He's scared. And because he's terrified and because he's scared, he keeps repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again. Now, I'm not understanding this video. They put up a video and all it is a guy zooming in on a tent full of people. I don't know what the message is here. Nobody's identified in the picture. But, you know, that's Tim. But see, that's what Holmseth does. Now, again, he's put up material on his Facebook page supporting a convicted pedophile. So Tim Holmseth likes convicted pedophiles. Apparently, he hangs around with them because he got this information somehow. He has never sourced this information. He just puts it there. Hasn't verified the information. He has not called up the Orange County Sheriff's Department or the Lake City Sheriff's or Lake County, Florida Sheriff's Department to find out what the story is behind all these clips. He just puts the stuff up there. And then he whines and pisses and moans when I challenge him on it. But this is Holmseth. This is what he does. So, The high command is on Twitter. So he announced that. But he's committing fraud again because he is not affiliated with the United States government. This is a lie. It's a fraud. You know, he has nothing to do with the operations. This is a complete and absolute fraud. But until the United States, or maybe somebody from the Joint Special Operations Command, decide to do something about this, he's going to continue. And he's going to reap in the money from it. He's going to keep doing these frauds. So, I'll close with that. The fraud that is Timothy Charles Holmseth continues. We now have 2 of these fake Twitter accounts up. And there's no telling how many others of these we got. I don't know the reason why Timothy Holmseth felt it necessary to set up another one of these accounts. But that's what he does. And again, when he feels threatened by this small, relatively inactive YouTube channel with 13 people on it, he goes and gaslights me once again. But I guarantee you, if Task Force goes through on their threat, Tim Holmseth is going to be on the witness list. Tim Holmseth is going to have to come into court and explain himself under oath. Now, probably tomorrow or the day after that, we're going to go over the accusations that Tim Holmseth made about me in regards to the Holy Smoke article. And, you know, then we'll see what happens from there. We'll see if the trolls come back in here and try to do their thing. But either tomorrow or Sunday or sometime during the week, I'll be back. I may make brief reminder videos saying it's been so many hours, so many days since the threat of a cease and desist was made, and we'll go from there. This is going to be a daily briefing, a daily update. I'm not letting this go. So Task Force, you have a decision to make. You can either retract your cease and desist, or you can go ahead with your legal action, but I'm not stopping. You know, someone made the suggestion that the Task Force account is possibly a woman from the state of Florida who confessed to 4 counts of lewd acts in front of a minor. And the second I made that announcement, you came out with your threat. Now, something odd about that, because you made the same accusations about me. Tim Holmseth makes the same accusations about me. Now, you can't have one without the other. Because I can't initiate an action with Tim Holmseth because I have no idea where he's at. I can't initiate a cease and desist order against Tim Holmseth because I don't know where he's at. But if I ever find out where Tim Holmseth is at, we're going to see what happens. Because legally, I'm going to put an end to this mess. So, you've been hit with a challenge, Task Force. It's up to you what you want to do about it. This is William K. Murtaugh, Murtwitnessone. Like and subscribe. Please support me on Patreon and GoFundMe so I can go after the false accusers against me and against others. For it's time for this fraud to stop. And so until the next time we meet, have a good one.